Hello, this is Paige and you are at my channel, Paperbacks and Lattes, and today I will be telling you all the books that I read in December. This is my December wrap up. I read 15 books total for December. I haven't been reading as many books per month as I used to because my life is just seems like it gets busier and busier, but I'm still glad that I read 15 books. And as always, I usually read a lot of highly rated books. I tend to rate books higher because I really don't like to read anything I kind of know right offhand if I'm going to like it or not. And if I don't like it, I just DNF it, so it never gets rated. So anyway, let's go ahead and begin. So I will list them in order that I read them. I had 11 5-star books, 1 4-star, and 3 3-stars. So the first book I read for December was Victory at Prescott High by C.M. Stunage. This is number 5 in the Havoc Boys series, and it is the last book to complete that series. I have been reading them as each one comes out, and she finally wrote the last book, and I was so excited to read it. So this follows Bernadette and all 5 of her guys. This is a reverse harem, and it's kind of like a high school. It starts off as a bully romance, but then, you know, as things are revealed and she falls in love with her guys and they fall in love with her, you know, it turns into a romance. But each of the books follows, like, they're essentially a gang at their high school, the Havoc Boys, and they are fighting other gangs, and they are completing her list of people who have wronged her in her life. There are a lot of trigger warnings in these books, but I love the dynamic between Bernadette and her guys. Each one of them has a different personality, and they bring so much, you know, variety to the books, and I just really love them. I was so glad to read this book to complete that series. The next book I read was Captain by Lauren Rowe. This is the second book in the Morgan Brothers series. I completely adored the first book, which was Hero, and I loved the second one. Probably not as much as Hero, but I still loved it so much. I love being back with the Morgan family. That is just like the ideal family. They are just, they laugh together, they have fun, and they are just all there for each other. It's just a strong, tight-knit family, and I just really like it. And this follows Ryan and Tessa, and they meet at this bar and they hit it off. Like, they have insane chemistry. They are made for each other, but this huge misunderstanding happens, and they turn to, you know, they've both kind of left out truths, important facts about themselves, and that is like the whole big misunderstanding. And so then they kind of have turned into, like, they hate each other. And then they meet again when Ryan's sister has like a destination wedding, and she is there because she is the groom. She works for the groom, and he is like his personal assistant. And so it was a really fun story. I loved it. I love being back with the Morgan family, and of course I rated this one 5 stars. The next book I read was Behind the Bars by Brittany C. Cherry. This is the #1 book in the Music Street series. This is about Elliot and Jasmine. Elliot is a boy. It's like starts off when they're in high school, and he is just like the nerdy boy, the one who loves music. He plays his saxophone like out on the street corner, and he is very badly bullied in school. And Jasmine is from a better, you know, she has a better home life, except for her mom is trying to force her to be something she is not. She's trying to be like have a career in pop music, but Jasmine likes to sing soul music. And she has finally been able to go to public school for the first time. Her mom has always homeschooled her to, you know, so like school wouldn't take up so much of her time to focus on trying to have a career. But there she meets Elliot and they just bond together, and then something happens and Jasmine leaves, and Elliot is just, he is completely changed because of this horrible tragedy that happens. And it was so sad to see him go so far downhill. And then they meet back up later in life, and when they meet back up, Jasmine knows that this Elliot is not the same guy that she used to know, because he is such a hardened shell of the Elliot that she used to know. But she is like a lifeline for him, and it slowly draws like the old Elliot back out. And it was just such a wonderful read. I love everything that Brittany C. Cherry writes, and this was no exception. And I rated this one 5 stars. The next book I read is Grayson by Lisa Eugene. This was an age gap. All of these books, Victory, Captain, Behind the Bars, and Grayson, I read for the Romance Takeover Readathon. If you want to see my more in-depth reviews of these books, go watch those vlogs. But this was for the age gap, and this is about a girl who goes to work. She's going to college, but she needs some extra cash, so she takes this job as a housekeeper, and for this older man, because the son hires her. And she is just expecting, you know, this old man, and then when she walks in, he is a lot younger than she thought. And but he's like a recluse. It's almost like a hoarding situation, but it's because he has schizophrenia and he deals with that. It is pretty much rules his life. And he's very paranoid, and like at the beginning you don't even really hardly see him. She just catches like glimpses of him. But then as the book goes on, you know, they meet each other and they are very attracted to each other, and this is their romance. And it was good. I rated it 4 stars. Not the best, but it was also pretty entertaining. The next book I read was Layla by Colleen Hoover. I was so excited to see that Colleen Hoover had released a new book, and immediately when it came out, I had to read it. This is about a guy and a girl. Their names are Layla and Leeds, and they meet, and you know, they have a relationship together. But then this accident happens, and Layla is just not the same afterwards. And Leeds is trying to help their relationship go back to what it was before this accident happened. And so he takes them back to the hotel where they met at, because they met there when her sister was married there. And he takes her back to like where it all began. And then there is this, he meets a ghost at this hotel, and the ghost like takes over Layla's body like when Layla goes to sleep, the ghost takes over her body, and Leeds is falling for this other girl named Willow, who is a ghost. And because she seems, you know, since Layla is so different, and he is just kind of falling out of love for Layla. But then there is a huge twist at the end. I really love this book. It was so intriguing. I had never read anything like this before, and I rated it 5 stars. The next book I read is A Holiday Temptation by Tiffany Patterson. This is one of the books I read for my Christmas reading vlog. And this is about Jackie and Mark. Jackie and Mark knew each other before, and there is a horrible accident that happens that it happens to Mark, and he loses the ability to walk. And now he is in a wheelchair, and he blames Jackie for what happened, and he is just holding a lot of, you know, grudge against her. And then they meet later on in life, where both of their companies come together on this project, and they are like the lead people on this project. and they have to work together a lot, and so it brings back those old feelings that they used to have for each other. And it was a really great Christmas book. It was very it was more emotional and hard-hitting than your typical Christmas story, and I really appreciated that about it, and I rated it 5 stars. The next book I read is Special Delivery by Lauren Blakely. This is the #1 book in the Boyfriend Material series. This is about Vaughn and Quinn, and Vaughn is like running his own sports agent company, where he is, after he has retired from playing sports, and Quinn is his partner's sister, and she is like an event planner, and they need to plan a holiday party for their company, and she is stepping in to help plan this party. And so they are spending a lot of time around each other. They both like each other a lot, and of course it leads to more. This was another Christmas novella that was pretty good. I rated it 3 stars. It was a very like happy-go-lucky type of story. There wasn't much depth to it, but of course, you know, that it's expected with a novella. But I rated it 3 stars because it wasn't like fantastic, but it wasn't bad either. The next book I read is Merry Inkmas by Talia Hibbert. This follows Bailey and Cash. Bailey is working like at a coffee shop, but she is fired because she helps this homeless guy. And Cash is there. He's been coming into the coffee shop because he just really likes Bailey, and he is there when this happens. So he offers Bailey a job at his tattoo shop, and she starts to work there, and they both are dealing with a lot of things from their past. They both think that they can't find love, but she has nowhere to go for Christmas, and Cash invites her back home to like where his mom still lives with his sisters, and they spend Christmas together, and they realize that yes, they can love, and that there is, you know, they find love with each other. They find that what they've always been searching for, and it was a wonderful read, and I rated it 5 stars. The next book I read was Jingle My Bells by Romeo Alexander. This is a Mel Christmas novella. This follows Dean and Sloane, and this is, I didn't know that they had a book before this with their romance, and this is just kind of like a follow-up story of, you know, they've been in this relationship for 6 months, and now it's Christmas, and Dean goes home with Sloane for Christmas, and it was so wonderful. I love seeing Dean and Sloane together. They're both in the military, and I love their Christmas novella so much. I rated it 5 stars, but I had to go, even though I was reading Christmas novellas or Christmas stories, I had to go read their romance because I love them so much in Jingle My Bells. So I went to the book that has their romance in it, and it is I'm Straight Right by Romeo Alexander. This is their romance, and they have been in the military for 6 years. They met in like basic training, and they have just been keeping up with each other through the years. And Dean is the one that is openly gay, and Sloane thinks he's straight, but they are just best friends. They would do anything for each other. And Sloane comes to realize that he is in love with his best friend. And, you know, of course, Dean has been in love with Sloane all along. And I love their romance so much. And I rated this one 5 stars. And the last book I read for my Christmas reading vlog was Borrowed for Christmas by Cherish Amour. I rated this one 3 stars because it just wasn't quite what I liked. There was a couple highly offensive words in this book, and the writing was just kind of weird. I liked the premise behind the story, which was this follows Kaiser and Lennox, and Lennox has to go home for the holidays, and she has no boyfriend to take back, and they expect her to have a boyfriend, and she's always kind of like living in her sister's shadow. And so she works with Kaiser, and Kaiser volunteers to, you know, be her fake boyfriend for Christmas. And so they agree to do this. And so she brings him home, and this was their like fake relationship trope. And I really do like those. And some parts of this book were good, but then others were just really bad. So this one got a 3-star rating. The next book I read is Waiting for Her by Mari Carr. This was one I had recently hauled in one of my ebook hauls. And this is a menage, and I love menage stories, so I wanted to read it. This revolves around Diego, Luke, and Jeanette. Diego and Luke are firefighters who moved to this town, and immediately when they met Jeanette, they have just been infatuated with her, but something horrible has happened in her past, and she doesn't date, she doesn't do the whole love thing, she just helps. She works at her like family's restaurant or diner in the town, and finally she agrees to go on a date with Diego and Luke, and they are in agreement to where they date women together. They don't have, you know, separate relationships, and she falls for them, and then something bad happens to her where, you know, they kind of have to step in and help her. And it was just a really good book. I loved it so much. I rated this one 5 stars as well. The next book I read is Lilac by B.B. Reed. I had put this on my TBR like months ago, didn't realize that it had not come out yet, and so it finally came out in December, and I was so happy. This is a reverse harem book, and it's actually B.B. Reed's first reverse harem, and I really enjoyed it. This is a rock star reverse harem romance, and this follows Braxton, and she has just been hired to be this the guitarist in this band, and because their band member that had played the guitar had died, and so now she is the band's new member. But they hate her at first, and she really has to like stand up to the other guys in the band. There are 3 other band members, and they each, you know, she has to stand up for herself, but then they all become attracted to her and infatuated with her, and they each one want to be with her, and so they kind of agree to share her. So it turned into reverse harem. I really like this book. I'm really glad I read it, and I rated it 5 stars. The next book I read is Lies and Lullabies by Serena Bowen. This is #1 book in the Hush Note series, and this follows Kira and Jonas. Jonas is a lead singer of this band, and he had come to this small town to like get away for a while, and there he met Kira, and they were just, you know, friends, even though, you know, he wanted more, until like their last night where they had a night together, and then he leaves with his band, and he was not entirely truthful about his name, and so she doesn't really like realize who he is until a lot later, and she accidentally gets pregnant when, you know, from that night. And then he comes back like 3 or 4 years later, and there she is with her child. And so he finds out that he is a dad, and this was their story of him, you know, coming to realize that he is a parent. And I do love the ones where they find out where they're a parent. The guy knowing he's a dad, and then him spending time around the child and just falling in love with, you know, their child. It's just, oh, I love that. But this is also their romance of rekindling what they once shared. I really loved this first book in the Hush Note series, and I gave it 5 stars. And the last book I read for December was The Roommate by Brandy Bush. I actually got this one from Riley Marie, from her Smudathon readathon where this is when she read for it, and or it was she either read it or it was on her TBR. And this is just a smutty book. It's like there's not even a happily ever after. I just thought it sounded interesting. It was like the last day of December. I'm like, why not read it? So this follows Celeste, and she is roommates with Yvonne, and her parents go off on a cruise for the holidays. So she goes home with Yvonne for Christmas, or I think it was Christmas. And she is in a bedroom near Yvonne's parents, where every night she hears, you know, them. And she turns out to be attracted to Yvonne's parents. And then later on down the road, they have, you know, a time together. So I've never read anything like that before. It was just a smut-filled book just for that purpose. So anyway, I did rate it 3 stars. So those are all the books that I read for December. Let me know what you read for December. What was your favorite read for the month? Have you read any of these that I have read? So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.